Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's review, we take a look at the Hot Toys Star Wars Mandalorian Remnant Trooper. Today I'll be reviewing this figure in the following categories: accessories, articulation, design. Is it essential to your collection, functionality, and price? Once those scores are totaled, I'll give you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. So I feel like Hot Toys pulled a fast one on me. This figure was slated to release around the time of November. However, in August, here it is. Really wasn't expecting to have to pay for this at this time. Nonetheless, here it is in my collection. So for this review, something that I would like to mention is that there will be no edits. I am going to do the complete shoot through in one take, so please expect that there will be errors. I am simply trying to get through this review as there are several others that I would like to get out within the next few days, and spending the hours that it takes to edit videos really places me in a position to where, as you can see, if you've been following my channel, I am not able to get videos up and out regularly. So for accessories, this figure does not come jam-packed. Let's take a look at what he comes with in total. So we receive a total of 7 hands. The hands are done well enough. It continues the look of the soldier with that dirty look to the gloves. And if you look pretty closely, you can see that there is some texturing around the gloves themselves. More of a glossy black over the dull black itself. So that's a pretty cool finish. And the inside of it has a glossy look as well. So you get 2 weapons in total. Let's take a look at the longer weapon. So this looks very good. There's some good detailing throughout. I like the look of this weapon, I should say. But there isn't a lot of paint here. I wish that this had carry over the theme, that there were some dirty or rusted parts. So I really feel that Hot Toys missed on this one. So with the other weapon, I like the look of it as well. But just like the weapon before it, no paint, and it doesn't carry the theme of that dirty trooper. And other than the base itself, which you know I really don't care too much for, that's all we get in terms of accessories. So for overall accessories, I am thoroughly disappointed. Hot Toys could have threw in some additional things, especially being that this is essentially a repainted figure. So the mold was there, the body was there, the sculpt was there. One of the things that we could have gotten, we couldn't have gotten an additional head sculpt, which could have been battle damage. We also could have got a chest piece, which was battle damage. Thinking of Star Wars movies, when their troopers are shot, normally it leaves that black mark to the area of the armor that's hit. That would have been cool. What else would have been pretty cool if we would have had effect pieces for the weapons? We don't get any of that either. So for accessories, I'll be giving the Remnant Stormtrooper a 4 out of 10. So for articulation, the head is able to look up about that much. It is pretty loose, however. You're able to get rotation, great amount of pivot, and it even shifts back and forth, and it's able to look all the way down. So for the arm, it's able to move up about that much. It's not able to rotate a full 360 because of the cloth bunching. At least I can't get it to go a full 360, so it's able to raise about that much before the fear of damaging something. So you do have rotation. I'm trying to see if there's upper bicep swivel. It doesn't appear that there isn't. However, the armor pieces are freely moving. So you do have double jointed elbows bending up that much, which is pretty good for a character who's wearing armor. The wrists are able to rotate. It just came off the hinge. So it's able to go up. All right, we'll get into this at the functionality part. So it's able to go up about that much before falling off, which isn't a lot at all. Down about the same, and I can't even move it side to side without falling off. So that's that. So with the torso, it appears you have an upper and lower piece. Just using the upper, it's barely able to move back any. Doesn't move back. Forward, it crunches that much. Really, you don't get any pivot. You do get that much rotation left and right. Using the combination of the two, it's not a lot difference when it comes to rotation. No difference for crunch. Backwards, the same forward. No pivot. Coming down to the legs, it's able to move forward. This can't be it. It's able to move forward about that much. Backwards, the same. It's hard to tell if you get rotation because these pieces are moving. So you do get some rotation. It doesn't appear that there is a lot. So the knees are double jointed, bending in that much. The armor pieces are freely moving, the same as the arms. So I can't tell if there's rotation at the boot or not. it doesn't appear to be. So with the feet, they're able to go up that much, down that much, pivot inside that much, and outside, which is very good. And as far as for the full splitsies, you get about that much. And before I forget, you do have a butterfly joint going in about that much, backwards about that much. So for articulation, we certainly have some issues. The best moving part on this figure is the head, which I gave a full 2 for scoring. The next best part will be the foot setup. I was surprised how far it can bend up. Being that there is armor on the leg, I assumed that it would restrict it, but you do get very free flow movement. The rest of the body is the issue, and I would assume that being that there are soft goods in certain areas, that we would have more mobility. Unfortunately, we do not. So for overall articulation, I'm going to give the Stormtrooper a 6 out of 10. So for design, I'm going mostly on how the figure looks in person rather than the show. I only seen one episode of The Mandalorian. So in full honesty, I can't say if these figures are an accurate representation of the show. I've searched for images and videos of the remnant troopers, but everything that popped up was either Hot Toys or Hasbro related. And the few videos that I did see was of the Mandalorian fighting some of the, I'm not even sure if they were remnant or stormtroopers, just the regular ones, but their backs sort of were turned. So I couldn't get an accurate description on how these figures actively look. So with that being said, I do have some issues with the figure when it comes to overall design. So my first glaring issue would be Hot Toys is probably known to be the best company when it comes to weathering. Even though there is substantial weathering on these figures, I don't necessarily think that it looks great. In the past, I feel that Hot Toys was really able to capture the wear and tear and make it transition fabulously in paint. Here, I feel like I can tell that this is painted on. I don't think that what looks to be scuff marks are so clean. The dirt looks less than what should be dirt actually looks less of like dirt and more like the color of the armor itself fading. And it just carries on throughout this paint job. And it's definitely not the worst thing that I've seen, but in my opinion, it is not close to the standards that I'm used to seeing with Hot Toys. To give them credit, it does go all the way down to the end of the boot. And if you flip, there's none on the other side, so that's not a big deal to me. And it does go all the way to the top of the helmet. So they made sure to show the distressed look of the figure from top to bottom, which I like. And just looking at the figure from behind, sort of the same theme goes on. Some of the creases you have what's supposed to be dirt. But again, I don't want to say it misses its mark, but I don't think it looks that good. The other issue that I have with this figure is that they're all the same size. If this was a $20 Hasbro figure, I wouldn't mind. But it's not a $20 Hasbro figure. And I know that in the Star Wars movies, all of the stormtroopers are not the same size. So having some variety in height and width and other proportions would have been a real standout point of this figure. However, Hot Toys missed that opportunity. The other issue is that they're all painted the same. Where there's dirt or scuffs in one area on the figure, it is exactly the same on each and every figure. If you're able to get past those things, then I'm sure that you would like this figure. From what I remember from the original Stormtrooper, everything else appears to be in place. I am not a Star Wars expert, so I could be mistaken about that. But the patches around the belt look good. The button works, the way that the chest armor sort of flares in and out, has indents, all of that looks good. I think the helmet itself looks fantastic. And we even have some scope work and items that are in the back. So for overall design, I'm going to give the Remnant Trooper a 7 out of 10. So is the Remnant Trooper essential to your collection? For me to get to the point, I don't think so. We just had the original Stormtrooper, and I purchased these because I intended to army build the original Stormtrooper. Sound crazy to army build figures that are $200 plus, but I did. I waited way too long, the figure sold out, so I decided to pick up a few of these. So if you are in a similar situation as I am, then maybe you feel that these are worth it, or better yet, essential to your collection. Being that I haven't watched The Mandalorian as of yet, started it, watched the first episode, really it didn't pull me in. I will come back to it at some point. These figures don't have a special place for me. I know that there are Star Wars fans out there who feel completely different. The biggest question I had to ask myself is that if you're building a Mandalorian display, could you substitute these figures with the original Stormtrooper? And I feel that you can. So as far as being essential to your collection, I'm going to give the Remnant Trooper a 6 out of 10. So for functionality, there are 2 things that are done exceptionally well, the rest not so much. So for our standard stand test, as you can see, all of the figures are currently standing on their own. Even though the one in the middle, I had some difficulty standing. And if you look pretty close, it would appear that the figure in the middle is shorter than the other 2. So I started to think, did I make a mistake? Did Hot Toys actually include troopers that were shorter, some that were taller? No, they didn't. I did not make a mistake. All 3 of these figures are exactly the same. I measured the feet, I measured the arm size, and the overall height. The difference, if you can see these 2 troopers here, you can see the part of their neck, which is more so of a softer plastic. I assume it is anyway. Let's just say the exposed black plastic. You could clearly see that. For this one, the helmet is sitting down. I attempted several times to pull it up. However, it keeps collapsing over time. So with it fully extended, you can see that the figures are the same and still it's dropping a little bit. So I'm having an issue with this one. So I'm going to remove this one for this part of the review. Okay, so focusing on one, what works phenomenal on this is the head. I think the head works very well. You get great range of movement as well as mobility. The only issue is the head is a little bit loose, but not loose to the point to where I'm worrying about it at the moment. Maybe a little bit over time. The other thing that works very well would be the foot area. Just a great range of movement considering that there's an armor piece that is sitting right above it. So now to start with some of the glaring issues and or challenges. Hot Toys did a good thing by extending the armor over the arm itself rather than this part of the chest armor. However, that is all the range that you get. This is unacceptable, especially for a figure that is supposed to be holding weapons. In addition to that, you do get limited rotation in places, but where this figure really hurts is the hands. They pop off way too easily. I constantly say in many of my Hot Toys videos that the peg should have been inside the hand and insert that way. These hands continuously fall off. That is an issue. It's not just with one. I have 3 of these. It's with all of them. So let me sit the figure down for a moment. So he has 2 trigger hands, both left and right. So let's see how he holds the weapons. May have to come off camera for this. Maybe I don't. So that fit inside very well. That was extremely easy for him to hold a weapon. And it's almost as if this hand was made for the weapon. So I love when we get gesturing hands that the accessories can easily fall into. So very well. Let me try the other hand. So moving on to the next hand, here is the other weapon. It goes in easy enough. And just like the first one, it holds it perfect. So this is phenomenal. I'm very happy with the way that the hands hold the weapons. Now let's see how easy the hands go onto the figure. So I'm just going to pop this off. If I haven't mentioned, I do have a new camera as well as a new tripod. Pretty excited about that, but if I'm zooming in instead of out or vice versa, I'm still getting used to the camera. So it's able to plug on that side. Let's do this one as well. And it's able to plug on that side. We already know if we move it, it's going to be an issue. So something that's important that I said I'm going to start rating from here on out is if the hands can go up and down. Okay. So being that these hands pop off, I'm going to simply say that they cannot move up and down. And if you have a character that yields a weapon, his hands need to move this way. And this one does not. So continuing with the issues would be the A and B piece of the torso. You can clearly see the soft goods underneath, but you barely get any movement. You receive more movement from the armor piece itself than you do the overall body. The bottom portion I can understand, as this part is much harder and it seems to be set in place, but you need more range than that. And with the butterfly itself, it comes in enough so that you can hold both weapons. Sorry about that. I will demonstrate shortly. And with the legs, you barely get any movement. He only kicks that much forward. All right, so I had to do this off camera as it was a nightmare to get him to simply hold the gun this way. For anyone wondering if the head is removable, so perhaps you can change this with your other stormtroopers, I would assume that it is, as I can clearly see the ball peg up top. However, I've been pulling and it doesn't want to come off. Perhaps heating it in hot water would do so, but at this point I stopped. So for functionality, the hands are clearly the biggest issue with this figure. You add that to limited mobility, it gives you a soldier that's not able to properly hold or use his weapon. So for overall functionality, I'm going to give this figure a 6. So I forgot to show something during the functionality department. So with this weapon, you're able to pull the handle part down, back, and around, and you can just have an extended look. No idea how this goes exactly, as I have not seen The Mandalorian, but I just wanted to show that you do have that feature. So for pricing, the Remnant Trooper comes in at $205. That is before taxes, that is before shipping. You add in taxes and shipping, you're looking at $255, depending where you order these figures from. I ordered all three together, so instead of spending $25 for each figure shipped, I paid $25 for all three. If you want more tips on how to save on your collection, I certainly have a video that I've posted for that. So is the Remnant Trooper worth the price of admission? So the $205 MSRP is a fabulous price for a Hot Toys figures, as their figures are just increasing in cost, which seems like every single year. So for pricing alone, this could have been a 10, however, it is not. And the main reason that this is not a 10, it does not have to do with the shortcoming of this figure. It has to do with there's another version of this figure that in my opinion is better and it's cheaper. The original Stormtrooper is $189. This is an additional $16 more than that figure. If I had the opportunity, the chance for that figure, I would certainly take that one over these figures. So if anyone is interested in trading, please let me know. But even with that said, this is still a great cost, even though it doesn't come with a lot of accessories, even though there are certainly some issues with functionality as well as articulation. Could Hot Toys have done better with this figure? Absolutely. So for overall pricing, it's still going to be high. I'm going to give this figure an 8 out of 10. So that will give the Remnant Trooper an overall cliff score of 37 out of 60. So is this figure a pass or a purchase? That is a big it depends. If you're like me, who plan to army build the Stormtroopers, waited way too long and missed out on some, then yes, this is the next best thing, as the original Stormtroopers have steadily increased in pricing. So this is certainly a cheaper alternative. However, if you have the option of getting one or the other, I think the first release is better than this here. Also, you can't go wrong with a dirty trooper. Even though I am not particularly thrilled with the paint applications on this one. So as far as being a pass or a purchase, I am going to say that this is a purchase. And for me, it comes down to not having access to be able to grab the originals. Also, the price point. It is still at a good price point. Here's the Stormtrooper by itself. I thought I had the original one to show side by side. I don't have that on hand. So here he is next to another Star Wars figure. Here he is next to the Royal Guard. I have two of the Royal Guards. I plan to do a video with him and Palpatine, but I just never got around to it as of yet. Here he is next to Heartbreaker. And I'm surprised that the Stormtrooper is standing that tall. This could have been when the Iron Man figures were on the smaller side. And if you want to see how he looks next to a figure not wearing any armor, would be the Wonder Woman. If you're wondering why the arms are missing, it's because the peg system, they fell off. I don't know where they currently are. I do have extras, so. And again, I am surprised that he stands so close to height in Wonder Woman, though I do have her legs separated, as she is not the easiest figure to stand. And last but not least, here he is standing next to a taller male character. So this will conclude this video. I want to thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop, and I hope to see you during the next review.